Hello, my Food Mood friends. Welcome back. Chandra's Zen Odyssey. I actually have notes today because my brain is not working at 100%. I feel like I'm walking around with a big black hole in my chest. And yeah, when we're in heightened emotions, then oftentimes our brain function is not 100%. But I also am writing notes because it's an important topic. And just like I did 2 weeks ago, I made a video about being scared to talk about what's going on in Israel. I'm back on the same topic. There is a part of me that definitely does not want to talk about this. It's easier to kind of just stay neutral and not take a stand. But I can't. It just does not feel right in my heart or in my soul. So I'm going to be a little risky, do something that my brain doesn't really want me to do, which is to share my story, I've had a lot of friends reach out to me and ask me questions of like, is peace possible? What about what's going on? Like, what's your perspective? What's your partner's perspective? And so I find that there's a few stories that I'm telling over and over that I think are useful. And I lived in Israel for 2 years. I moved there in the end of 2014, and I lived in Beersheba in the south for almost a year, and then I lived in Tel Aviv for a year. And my partner and I are really big outdoors people, and so we spend a lot of time outdoors. And over the first big chunk of time that I was there, I don't know if it was 6 months or 8 months, we spent every single weekend out in nature. And I remember this point where I don't know if it was maybe 6 or 10 trips in, where we had driven all the way to the south. I had my first ever outdoor rock climbing in Timna in the very south near Eilat. We had done some camping and climbing and hot springs over on now I'm confusing my directions, on the east and the Dead Sea. And then we had gone up to the north, and I believe it was we were in the north, and he pointed out the border with Syria. And I suddenly realized that in all of our road trips, that Israel north to south is 6 hours and east to west is 1 hour. And all of the borders with Israel are enemies, people that hate Israelis. It's not safe for Israelis to travel into their neighboring countries. Maybe with the exception of Egypt, of going down to Sinai. We did do actually a trip there, and it was relatively safe, but it's not 100% safe. So let's say that Israelis were kind of safe to go down to Sinai. But all the other countries, I actually went to Jordan and went with a friend and didn't go with my partner because he's not allowed to go there. It's not safe for him. And so when I realized that Israel was this pretty small island surrounded by huge walls and fences and enemies of people who hate them, it kind of took me aback. And I think it's important to share that realization of like what it's like to be in a really small country surrounded by people, nations, cultures who generally hate you and who have waged war on you. And as I've seen in the news about why would Israel now attack Lebanon and Syria, like I thought they wanted peace, like they're not attacking first. Like this is an opportunity that other countries are maybe have pre-planned to jump in on. Like Israel does not, at least the people of Israel do not want war. I don't know about the governments. I can't speak for the governments. I think unfortunately war is good for the economy. It's probably even good for most presidents. There are benefits out of the war, unfortunately, that cost a lot of civilian lives, but often make a lot of money. But I promise you, like the Israelis that I know, the Israelis in the streets, they're not wanting to be at war. They're wanting to be at home with their families, living a life. When I was living in Tel Aviv, we had a dog, and I spent a lot of time. My partner was away at school for 12 hours a day. He was taking the train down to Beersheba. And I spent a lot of time in the dog park and then at the beach. And in Tel Aviv, there's this amazing beach and huge parks. We live right next to the park on the south. And I met this famous artist who is from the States. I believe he was from California. He had all this really beautiful, colorful art. And he had 3 dogs who were maimed.
One had a missing leg, one had a missing eye, one had really severe scars. I think they had other things. I can't remember exactly what they had, but he told me that the story that they were rescue dogs from Gaza, and he worked really closely with his organization that rescues these dogs. And from what he understood is that these were dogs that the children in Gaza were being taught how to torture by torturing these animals, these dogs. And he was a part of this, and he actually, I think he gave a lot of money to this organization of trying to rescue these dogs and find them homes. And so for me, when I think about the brainwashing that Hamas has done since he's been in power, or since they've been in power since 2006, and you think about something like 40% of the population is under 15, and if you think about Hamas being in charge and educating kids and brainwashing kids to torture and to hate and to kill and to mutilate for, 14, 17 years, this is what these kids have grown up in. And if you think about Jordan and Egypt not wanting to take in refugees because they don't want violence in their land, like the people of Gaza, it's heartbreaking, it's devastating to me to think about these people who have been trapped there and who have been brainwashed and are bought into this culture of hate and violence. It's also just horrifying, and I have so much compassion for the people there who have had to live there. It's horrible. So when a couple of my friends have asked me, they said, is peace possible? Like, from what you know, is peace possible? And from what I know of being in Israel, surrounded by countries who don't want peace, who Hamas doesn't want to negotiate. There's no negotiation. They've been really clear on what they want. And so to put this on the Israelis and say that it's just infuriating to me. And so I have to say, what's really painful is that I don't see any kind of good way out of this. And I think the Israelis have been really aware of this for a long time. They're like, there's a problem with Gaza. There's a problem going on here. There are people here who are not getting what they need. There's this tension building. The Israelis are not celebrating Gaza. Like, it is not like a good thing for them. It's a problem, and it's a problem for the people of Gaza. There's no really easy way out. Like, that's, I think, the most sad and horrifying situation here. And I have this idea. I'm in the middle of writing a multi-author book on human potential. But as I've been working on this book, this other book title has come into my mind of is peace possible? Is peace possible in the world? Is it possible right now in Israel? Is peace possible? And my short answer is, I don't see a way that peace is possible. At least with what the players have at the table now. And I don't think it's on the Israelis. I think the Israelis want peace. That's my experience. They don't want to be at war. They want to be home with their friends and their family and healing from the horrific events that happened. They don't want to be preparing for war and being attacked by Lebanon and Syria. This is not what they want. This is not what they want. Is peace possible? I'm curious if any of you guys have any opinions, if you have any thoughts of, is peace actually possible out of the situation, really knowing? The other thing that I really think is important, because one of my friends was really asking me about what is the Arab culture there. And in Israel, after all of the surrounding countries attacked them when they became an official state, there was something around 200 million Arabs, Muslim Arabs, who decided to not go to Gaza or decided not to go somewhere else and decided to stay in Israel. And they have full citizenship. They have full rights. They go to university, they vote, they have full rights. 2 million people. And I don't know if you know the numbers, but Israel's about 8 million people. So 20% or a quarter of Israel's population is Arab Muslims who are fully integrated and have full rights. And I started looking up on the internet, are there any
Arab countries where you have a large population of Jews. And I couldn't really find anything easily on the internet. And I reached out to my friend who's a historian, and he was like, not that I know of, there's no large population or any population of Jews that are living in Arab countries. And so for me, it's like, if Israel's done this big move of actually integrating and having these people live with them, like, I don't know, to me, it's like, these are the stories that I have personally experienced and have put together. And so I think what I'm scared to and what I know in my heart that I need to say is like, I stand with Israel. Like, I know these people. One of my really dear friends who's my Chinese medicine doctor is in uniform. It's like, so he's a man of peace. But when I think that Hamas hit Israel, and I know it was, supported by other people, but Hamas hit Israel so hard and so deep and so ugly that there's almost no choice for these Israelis to stand their ground. It's a really, really tough and horrific situation. And I stand with Israel. I really do. I stand with the people of Israel, my friends of Israel, my family in Israel, and what Israel stands for. And I have a lot of compassion for the civilians of Gaza, and I would love to find an easy way out or a peaceful way out. And I'm pretty shocked at what social media, how all the stories are being spun and all of the different pieces, and really painting Israel as these really bad guys. And I'm really sad about it. And I don't think it's accurate. I don't think it's fair. And so, I wanted to share my 2 cents on this really tough topic. I have been feeling like I'm walking around with like a black hole in my chest, with just thinking and feeling of all of the horror, all of the lives, all of the blood. It's a really, really, all of the hostages, It's tough. It's really, really tough. And so I didn't want to be silent. I wanted to stand up. I wanted to talk. And I wanted to share these stories that help me understand, help my friends understand what's going on. I'd love to hear your stories. I'd love to hear your opinion. And I also want to say the same message that I said last time, like, reach out to your friends and family, talk to people, even the people you have differences with. I've reached out to someone who I know is a Palestinian, and she hasn't responded. And I think it's important to keep having conversations and to keep responding and to keep finding common stories and to keep finding our shared humanity in all of this. So that would be my message. And I hope you have a beautiful time. I will offer one of the things. I was talking to one of my really dear soul sisters in Israel who has a young baby. And she was talking about how just like she's breastfeeding and her milk is going down. She's just living in this state of stress. And one of the things I told her is I said, hug your family, hug your friends, and hug for at least 20 seconds. When we hold hugs for at least 20 seconds, there is a amount of oxytocin that's released in our body that is really self-soothing and nurturing. So hug people, touch them, hug them. Of course, consent, but hug and hold each other, love each other, even with your family or whoever. Skin to skin is even better. And take care of yourself and keep breathing, keep exercising, keep taking care of yourself. Try to manage the amount of news you're watching, and reach out and connect with each other. That would be my advice for this crazy times. Okay, sending you love. Bye.